Greetings. I was asked to share my thoughts about chapter 4, verses 5 through 42 from the Gospel of John. About 1700 years before Jesus' birth, in the Old Testament book of Genesis, Jacob, Isaac's son and Abraham's grandson, bought property in another land. Jacob was about 100 years old when he purchased or dug a well on this property. For many centuries, that well provided good water for people and their animals. This was a sacred place. Later, God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Jumping ahead more than 1700 years to the New Testament Gospel of John, Jesus and his disciples were returning to Galilee through Samaria. Jesus is tired and decides to rest at Jacob's well while his disciples go to town for food. A woman comes to the well about noon for water. The woman is a Samaritan. Jesus is a Jew. Jews do not associate with Samaritans. Jews do not even speak to Samaritans. But Jesus asks her for a drink of water from the well. The woman was probably surprised and questions why a Jew would ask a Samaritan for a drink of water. Jesus responds that if you knew God, and if you realized who was asking you for a drink, you would then ask me for living water. The woman may have been confused and replied, "You don't have anything to draw water. What do you mean?" Jesus explains anyone drinking water from this well will be thirsty again, but anyone drinking the living water that I offer will not be thirsty again. Jesus is using this situation to open a spiritual conversation with the woman. He also gently confronts her immorality by telling her everything she has ever done. When she faces her sins, she then believes that Jesus is a prophet. Jesus is showing his human nature. He is tired, he is thirsty, he is hungry. Jesus is also showing his divine nature as he expresses his concern for her spiritual life. The Samaritan woman tries to change the subject by talking about the history of the well, but Jesus pursues the spiritual matter. Jesus openly reveals himself as the Messiah to this uneducated, non-religious, outcast, sinful female. The disciples are returning from town. When the Samaritan woman realizes who Jesus is, she leaves her water jug and hurries back to town to tell everyone who would listen about Jesus. She could not wait to spread the news. She proclaims that Jesus told her everything she ever did. She then invites everyone to come to Jacob's well and meet the person who is their Messiah. While she was gone, the disciples encouraged Jesus to eat the food they had purchased. But he professes that he has food to eat that they don't know about. Jesus proclaims that his food is to do the will of God who sent him. There is work to do. Jesus points out that the crops of the field near them are not ripe and not ready for harvest. He then points out as many Samaritans are leaving their town to come see him, this is the time for this harvest. Many are coming to Jesus because of the woman's witness. He has a message for them. The Samaritans believed and urged Jesus to stay longer with them. Even though Jesus had a busy schedule, he stayed an extra 2 days. Many others believed. Jesus' own people, the Jews, were suspicious, watching and waiting for him to make a mistake. He was not liked and not trusted by the religious leaders of his own nation. However, the Samaritans received him gladly. He was accepted and respected by the sinners, the outcast, and the common people. The Gospel of John, chapter 4, verses 5 through 42.